everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and this is my reading wrap up for November 2025. Four. 2024. Not 5. 4. I was doing a lot of planning and editing that day. I really wish I could turn the camera and show how weird the niece is being right now. It's weird and adorable at the same time.
Right?
And now I'm having a pig wave at me.
Well, I just got a pig to kiss me, so there you go.
Give me the pig!
Oh, wait, no, too much.
Give me the pig, he can have his screen debut.
Let him know how much he has been loved. Let him know.
Did you all hear that?
Okay, he's been loved, he's not just disgusting.
I love that you had to justify that.
We never picked pictures.
This was originally pink. It was only last week that Charlotte finally realised and accepted that he is grey, not pink. But this is Charlotte's piggy, and he kind of like goes on adventures, and he's adorable and cute, and a little bit beaten back, and
so brave putting that so close to your face.
and very smelly.
Disrespect!
So yeah, anyway, I meant 2025. I have not in fact time travelled. So yes, also this video I'm going to be separating into 2 parts. So because my raw footage is 1 hour and 10 minutes long, so I've decided that I'm going to do this one over 2 days. So this is now part 1. At some point throughout this video I will decide when to stop. So this is part 1. This is also going to be one of the very early Bookmas videos. So hello, happy Bookmas, whatever day this is. I have deliberately not got a set schedule for Bookmas this year so that I can just post as and when I have videos ready. So yeah, we are now into Bookmas, which is where I attempt and will fail to post a video every single day in December as kind of like a little Advent build up to Christmas. And they all end after Christmas with my sort of end of year wrap up. But this is part where I am doing my like November wrap up. So let's get into the books that I've been reading this November. On the 2nd of November, I completed my Goodreads reading goal, and I actually included that book in my October wrap up because I read the majority of it in October. And that was The Dark Becomes Her by Judy I. Lim. So I did hit my Goodreads goal for novels, which meant I wanted to focus, and I knew when I got here, because Ren has quite an extensive manga collection, so I knew that when I got here I was predominantly going to focus my reading, certainly in November, on graphic novels and manga, because I didn't really know how I would feel about reading novels in the first few weeks while I was here. So yeah, we had a very successful library trip where we picked up, I think between us, we picked up about 20 graphic novels. And I've already read 4, DNF'd 1. And then I've also already read some Sweat and Soap manga volumes. So we're going to talk through each of them and let you know my thoughts. So the first thing that I finished when I arrived was Sweat and Soap Volume 1. That I've just left over there and don't want to go back and get again. So I'm just going to hold this one up as a placement. So Sweat and Soap Volume 1 by Kintetsu Yamada. And basically this was a reread. Last year I read Volume 1, and it's basically a woman who struggles with sweating, and I've talked in the past about how it's a very similar problem to what I've had growing up. Some of the things that she does to try and like cover the fact that she has this sweating problem and try and, you know, not smell or whatever, all things that I do and have been known to do throughout my entire life. And so, you know, it is a real struggle. I connected really strongly with her, and the first time I read it, I was sort of more taken over by how cutesy and wholesome it was. And I was more focused on her side of things. On the second run through, I was looking more at him. And I was like, actually, this is like really sitting not right with me, the way he seems to be obsessed. Like, I get that he loves how she smells and that he doesn't want her to feel embarrassed or shy about it. But it does get to a point where he becomes a little bit like, he's like a drug addict. And he's like, oh, I can't function unless I've smelt you today. And I was kind of like, okay, this is now actually kind of growing more into, I know they're not trying to, but it kind of read a little bit fetishy. And I was like, I hope that that tones down a little bit. So I still rated it very highly because of the cutesy wholesome stuff and some of the interactions they have, but I did drop it from a 5-star to a 4.5. But then that led on to volume 2, where unfortunately it didn't necessarily improve. His attitude didn't really improve, and there was no real any kind of like development that I found with Asako in this. And it was just kind of a lot more of the same from volume 1. We did start to get more of Asako's family. They've come into it. We introduced her younger brother, who it kind of almost started to go into that kind of, why do all these siblings in manga have borderline romantic affectations towards each other? This is weird. And like his protectiveness came more out of like, it was almost like he was jealous than anything. And I was like, but then we did realise, no, he was just trying to make sure that his sister wasn't being used or anything like that because of stuff that has happened in the past. So, you know, it was nice that at least he wasn't being super duper creepy, but it was still a little bit cringy. So I gave that one 4 stars, but a slightly lower 4 stars than book 1. And then it continued to go down in book 3, where there was like a company retreat and they were like trying to not show their work colleagues that they were going out, and it was like cover up, cover up, cover up. But then it was Kotaro's birthday, so they went to a hot springs, and so it kind of redeemed itself at the end. There was some really sweet moments between them. So again, still a 4-star. I'm still having a great time. I just was like, it felt like we weren't really getting enough character development, and it still had a little bit too many moments of him with his obsession of smelling her that was really starting to creep me out. But I'm glad that I did decide to keep going, because volume 4 then massively improved. The pair of them have decided now that they want to move in together. It was just so lovely watching like Asako putting forward the things that she wants. And even her brother points out when they go for a meal to his restaurant that he works at, he even pointed out that it was the first time he'd ever heard his sister say, I want, because she's always been a people pleaser, tends to go for what the people want, and doesn't really put herself first. And he was like, you're helping my sister to grow more self-confident and actually voice her wants and her desires. And he was like, so, you know, I actually do think maybe you are a good guy. And it was just really sweet and lovely. And it was the fact that, you know, Kotaro was really encouraging her to do that. And he said, look, I want you to want things, and I don't want you to just, you know, limit yourself, go for it. And I really love how supportive he is. And I feel like the story, when it goes less about him and his scent fetish, it is so much stronger, and he is actually an amazing guy. It just kind of is a bit icky sometimes, where it's like, okay, cool. But I like how she's starting to call him out on it as well. She's like, no, dude, this is inappropriate. Some of the things you're doing are gross. You need to stop. And it's been really lovely watching that. And this is the book where so far has been the best character development. So I am definitely continuing the series. I've got volume 5 out ready, but I've obviously gotten distracted by the graphic novels. And I also, when I'm reading a series like this, I don't like to read the entire thing back to back, because it tends to then blur into each other and they stop standing out. So I prefer to give it a little bit in between. Then was the library trip. And like I said, I picked up like 20 graphic novels, and I've just remembered I didn't do 4 and 1 DNF. I've finished 5 and I've got 1 DNF. So the DNF is this one. It's Ladybird by Fabrice Sapolsky, Dawn J. Starr, Danielle Sapupo and Lisa, and it wasn't catching me, it wasn't keeping me engaged. The storyline wasn't overly set on what it was. It didn't like have a really clear introduction as to what was going on. And yeah, the art was fine, but it wasn't really anything special for me. And it just kind of, I knew it was going to be a 3-star at most, and I wasn't enjoying it, so I put it down. Then we had, what order did I read these in? Well, that one was today. Then we had Monster Crush by Erin Ellie Franey. This one I gave just gave 4 stars. Like, it is a 4 star, I only just gave it. I really liked the colour style where the pages are mostly just sort of white with the purple like highlights and colour. But every now and again when there's like a spark between the characters, we get this full colour, and when there's like a really emotional moment or like something that really stands out, like a euphoric kind of moment that they're having, they just have the full colour page, and I really love that style design. I did feel this was a bit too insta-lovey for me. I would have liked to have seen the story of this develop over 2 or 3 volumes. I think it would have had much better pacing. I also, considering the girl who's like the monster and the like wolf shifter type, her parents are so anti-human, and she's like, oh, my parents can't know about you because they don't like humans. Only at the end of the book, they just sort of turn up to her high school, the girls' high school, and they're like, oh, you can help us find our daughter. And there's like no kind of mention or conflict there, and I felt like there needed to be more of that. There is also a trans rep in here. There is the story of one of the characters who does come out as trans. I do again feel like that one was handled a little bit clumsily, because instead of it being like a conversation or anything like that, it was just like one sort of outburst where it's like, my name's not this, I'm this, and that was it, done. And I'm like, even the most accepting parents in the world, you would still want to sit down and have a talk with them and be like, okay, so you're this person, we love you, you know, something like that. But it just kind of really got brushed under, and like, oh cool, okay. And I just felt it was a little bit clumsy. But overall, this was cute, it was wholesome. I did enjoy the fact that, you know, they've had to assimilate into the human world because they're being hunted by scientists. And it was a cute little YA teen romance. And yeah, I am realising though that I don't think standalones are necessarily for me. I do definitely prefer series because you get more time to build things. And then speaking of standalones, we had another little one, but this one was a 5-star. Frankie Comics, it's literally just one of those ones where it's just showing little daily snippets of life with this cat Frankie and some of the interactions that she has with her owners. But the thing that really stood out about this is it was slightly different. A lot of the ones that I've seen before that are in this kind of vein, they're kind of very generic, whereas this one was more specific to situations that the owners have had with the cat. And I just felt like it was more similar to things that I've experienced with my cats, or the owners, like their personalities and habits and the way they approach things was way more like what I would do. And so I just felt like I really connected to the owners, as well as I had a great time reading about the cat and her adventures and the ways in which she tests the patience of her owners multiple times. The next one was one that I read on the train on the way into the city yesterday, and that is Ghost Roast by Shawnell Gibbs and Shawnee Gibbs. This one I gave 4 stars. Again, I felt the romantic element in here was a little bit rushed, but I really like this one. Basically, she is a 16-year-old girl set in New Orleans. When she was growing up, her father was a ghost hunter, or still is a ghost hunter. When she was a kid, she was very much in the business and really enjoyed it. Then she realised actually it's a little bit embarrassing, so to reinvent herself, she kind of distanced from her dad and became like one of the popular kids at her school. And then one summer, the popular kid, she gets into trouble with them, gets arrested, and as punishment she's forced to work with her dad for the summer, which means that she then gets outed to her friends as being the Ghost Roast's daughter. And she then also discovers that she has an ability to see ghosts. So where her dad relies on technology to see them and hunt them, she can actually just see them. And when they are hired to remove the ghosts from this historical estate, she discovers that there is a very handsome teenage boy at Ghost, as well as multiple other ghosts, and she ends up interacting with all of them and helping to discover what actually happened to this boy. Why is his name basically not in any of the records of this family in this house? What is going on? And it unlocks some secrets and stuff that links in with slavery and the fact the house used to be a plantation. And it all kind of weaves in together, as well as having an evil spirit on the estate that is fighting them at the same time. So it had some fantastic elements, but again, it was one of those ones where I would have liked this to have been either a little bit longer or over 2 volumes to develop these things. But I think everything was done. I really like the art style of this one. Again, it was one of those books where when there was a special moment between the characters, there was like these azaleas came on the screen, like came on the page, and it just highlighted that really sweet moment. And there was a ghost cat. Need I say any more? So 4 stars. Had a great time, but it was a bit too rushed at parts. Then we have Let's Play Volume 1 by Leanne Kresick, something like that. I remember a few years ago, like 2 years ago, I started the webtoon of this, but I only read like the first couple of episodes. I'm not really sure why, I just didn't really continue it. But when I saw this, I was like, okay, let's give it another go. I ended up giving it 5 stars. As a gamer, it was really entertaining. I loved how the guild that she's in, they have in-person meetings, and when they turned up to the meetings, it shows you like their player stats and gives you a little profile on each of them. And I thought that was really, really well done, and I loved the style of it. So like here, it had the player stats to introduce all of them, and I thought that was really clever and really well done. It has different elements. I like how there's one bit where it's like, you know, there's 2 or 3 guys kind of showing an interest in her, and one of them, after her coffee gets spilled on her and she's taken her jumper off to reveal she's in a tank top, one of the guys literally gives her the shirt off his back, and she's like, why are these shirtless guys around me today? It's like I'm stuck in some cheesy romance comic where the creator is drawing a bunch of fan service to get more female readers. And I found that so funny. I just love how self-aware it was. I really like the dynamic between her, the main character. She's created this game, and then this guy who does like a sort of their version of YouTube did a video where he reviewed the game, gave it a very bad rating, and then his fans went and destroyed her rating of the game on the platform. That has led to her account being suspended, and she's basically lost any chance of, on that site, of being taken seriously and be able to go professional. And it's kind of like, that is the site that if you are going to make it in the games industry, that's where you start. So he essentially destroyed her entire future with one video. Completely didn't know. She was actually a fan of his for a number of years before this happened, and then she was obviously brokenhearted by all this, and it was really upsetting to her. And then she finds out that her new next door neighbour is him. And that starts a whole storyline. There's also a really cute dog in here. I really like all the different group dynamics. I like how she's one of those characters where it's like all the guys fall in love. And it's not like, I said to Ren, it's not like Bella Swan where all these guys are falling in love with her and you cannot fathom why. She's actually a really interesting character, and even though she's quite quiet and shy and unassuming, she's not boring. There's little glimpses there that's like, I can see why people would be interested and intrinsically drawn to her. And so yeah, I also really like the main guy in it, who's like the romance interest. Yeah, there's also some death rep. One of the guild members, she communicates via a phone that's like text speak. And I just love how she dresses all sweet and innocent and cutesy, yet she is the most savage of all of them. I just loved all of the group dynamics in this, and I cannot wait to continue this. So absolutely 5 stars, had a great time. And then the last one that I've done so far was this morning. I did The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag. This one got a 3.5, I believe, because again, it was one of those, the romance was just like, started within the first like 5 pages, and it kind of was just like no real build up. I felt the characters were very sort of base level, and I also really did not like the way that the main character just literally abandoned all of her friends and just ignored them all. And I understand why one of the friends in particular got really angry with her over it when it was revealed that it's because she had a girlfriend. And she was like, even if it was a boyfriend, you still should not have just abandoned us for no reason and lied to us the way you did. And I was like, do you know what? I'm with her there. No, the protagonist in this story was not right. and I didn't like her very much. But I loved the art style, the art and the colour and everything in this book I thought was so lovely. And I did like the details, and I did enjoy a lot of the other elements of the story. I just felt like everything kind of, like I said, the characters and the plot lines kind of stayed at base level, and I would have liked a bit more depth for it to have been a higher rating for me personally. But I did give it 3.5, mainly for the art style and the messages I knew it was conveying. I just felt it could have been done a little bit better. So yeah, that's where I'm at so far. I've just done a big library haul as well. I went back to the library today and I ended up picking up like 7 books on top of the rest of the graphic novels. So you're going to be getting a lot more updates. But thanks to all of these things, it does mean that I have now started to catch up on my Goodreads goal for my graphic novel and manga. I was 32 away from sort of completing it, but I'm now sort of at 25 or something because of all of these. So very quickly I am catching up, and I reckon it's only going to be about another week or 2 before I've caught up. But this video is going to be huge. I might even have to do this as a 2-parter, we shall see, but that is where I'm at so far, and you'll obviously see me in a few seconds with the next one that I've read. It's been a few days, but I have officially finished a series. While I've been here, I finished it last night. I have the last 2 here, volume 10 and 11 of Sweat and Soap by Kintetsu Yamada. As I said in an earlier clip, when I reread the first volume, there were things that bothered me far more than when I first read it. Those themes did continue through the book and through the series, where certainly his kind of obsession with smelling her and sniffing her, it just borderlined creepy most of the time. But I will say 90% of the emotional stuff and the things that I connected with related to Asako. Like in later volumes, she confronts some of her past traumas with being bullied for being sweaty, and like her high school bully, who is now a mother, sees her and is like, oh, Astinko, and it's like, you absolute bitch, you know? And Asako at that time still doesn't have the confidence to confront her about it, but then it leads to a sort of really big gap between her and Kotaro. She's pulled away, he doesn't really understand, but she's not ready to talk about it. But eventually they do talk about it, and it was just so wholesome and so beautiful, their interactions, and then just watching them settle into living together. Eventually we get kind of like the end goal of all of their relationship, and it just was so cute and wholesome in general. There were moments where I was a bit like, I don't like this, but I also really loved Kotaro's family in particular, because it's like his dad is just so nervous to make a good impression, and his mum, who is blind, there's some really beautiful moments there. There was one in the final volume, I'm not gonna lie, I basically cried throughout the entire final volume. Turns out manga weddings make me cry just as much as real ones. It was just so lovely, all of the interactions were great. I really loved Kotaro's mother, and like I said, she is blind. And so like at the wedding, she was asking what everyone looks like, and she has a moment where she gets really emotional and is like, you know, I wish I still had my eyesight. I hate that I can't see you both. And the way that they reassure her, the way that they make her feel so loved, oh, it was making me tear up because it was so emotional, but also as a person who had a parent who by the time she passed was basically, in one eye she was totally blind, in the other she only had like 10 or 15% vision. To have a mother that went through the same thing, and I heard the same words that Kotaro's mum said, I heard those same words come out of my own mother's mouth. That was emotional for reasons I was like, oh, you know, throwback to my teen years. So yeah, there was a mixture of things in here. I did note and I even said to Ren, I feel like some of our relationship is very close to the dynamics with these two. And there's just little moments where I said to Ren, I feel like some of their conflicts and some of their like things have been very similar to ours. We both struggle with communication at times. We're both not great at telling each other when we're having a bad day and just want to be left alone. I also still connected to Asako on the sweating and disability side of things because, again, she was looking for a really pretty dress for a date and she was really worried about finding something that she wasn't going to damage. She was really worried about having a wedding dress because of the same issues. And I was just like, you know, a lot of sort of things that I could relate to in there. So yeah, there were, like I said, I find Kotaro, he's great in many ways, but that thing with his obsession with sniffing and scent, it's fantastic and it's interesting, especially he's got like that synesthesia where when he scents her various emotions, they have like a shape in his mind and they are reflected. Like he was saying, when she gets excited about the future, she has like this like whiz bang effect to her scent. So it's really, really cute, and I love the way he describes how her different scents appear to his brain. But it did get a little bit obsessive where he's like almost an addict and his behavior is very reflective of that. Didn't like that so much. But it was overall a really good series. There were like 3 of the volumes got 5 stars, the rest were all 4.4 and 4.5s. So it's definitely a solid like 4-star series for me, and is one that I will recommend to people as being very cute and wholesome. There was none of this like super dramatic, you know, they weren't like constantly arguing and shouting. And like I said, there was only 1 or 2 times where things did get a little bit conflicted, but they were grown-ups about it, they discussed it, they talked it through, and they made it work. It all felt real, and I genuinely felt like this is a real couple. And like I said, the fact that so many of the things they go through are things that Ren and I have discussed and gone through, it's like, it felt real, and I loved that. So yeah, definitely a 4 to 4.5 star series. And that means that that one is now finished, which is fantastic. And because I've read all 11 of these, as well as the graphic novel and manga that I've been reading since I got here, I'm now like only, I think, let's have a look, 80 of the graphic novel and manga. So that means I'm now only 20 books behind my goal of 100. And considering when I arrived in Australia 20 days ago, I was 32 books behind. I have no more insecurities about hitting that goal. And it's like, looking here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 graphic novels still to go from the library. 12, because I've got another one here. Plus the entire collection that Ren's got. I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be fine. Like, my reading for this year and the start of next year, sorted. That's that series done, and very happy with that. So yeah, I'm gonna come back soon with another update of something else because I do have some more stuff that I want to get read. But yeah, I will speak to you all in a bit, and that is that series done. Yeah, that's what life is like here about 80 to 90% of the time. That's part 1. So part 2 is probably gonna actually be out in like a day because obviously I'm trying to do videos like every day. So tomorrow part 2 will be out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on part 2. I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for part 2 of my November reading wrap up.